Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person. Yosemite's one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Amazing.
He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Big, massive dumps.
Oh, I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Somebody sent me a thing this morning where they're talking about putting the vaccine into salad dressing.
You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real.
You ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole.
Putting us on our knees to China.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
They want to make you drink Starbucks every day from now until forever.
Round Nation, Waldorf Nation, everybody, welcome to the show. We are starting a bit late today. Had some audio issues, mainly these. Bluetooth connections sometimes kind of suck. So I had to figure that out. But hey, we're here. We got a show. And I'm going to have to kind of run through it real quick here. And so let's do it. We got double mic pillow today. So you're going to enjoy that greatly. I shall as well. We've got Eric Trump getting a little bit emotional. That's fun. We have Beelzebub. And then, of course, Lindsey Graham. So I'm not going to give that away. All right, so let's dive into it, but before you do, please like and share the stream. Very important that we do so, because it helps out. All right, so to avoid getting stun locked in the chat, let's just dive in. We may even have dumps, big, massive dumps. Okay, anyway.
God gave me this platform. I already know I'm going to win. China did our vote. Biden and Harris would say, hey, we're here to protect the country, and resign. Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't.
Just forget about the evidence. This was attacked.
It appears that Mike Pillow is very upset at the free market. The free market of ideas. Now, the conspiracy theorist and CEO of MyPillow was recently notified that one of his banks decided to drop him as a customer. In fact, Lindell said that last month, both the Minnesota Bank and Trust and Heartland Financial USA had threatened to close their accounts, and appears that Minnesota Bank and Trust actually followed through on that little threat. So now the reason, of course, being is they don't want to be associated with MyPillow, honestly. Because, look, he's been going on and on for months and months and months, spouting insane conspiracy theories about the 2020 election. He's getting sued by Dominion voting systems. He's probably not going to win that suit. And so you could hardly blame them for not wanting to have an account associated with Mike Lindell. They even said something about him being possibly having a negative balance. You know, perhaps when Dominion comes in and takes money that Mike Lindell obviously does not have. And so, now, obviously, no legitimate business is going to want to be associated with this lunatic who's about to lose all of his money. And yet, for Lindell, somehow this has turned both into an example of Republican cowardice and criminality.
Well, the cowards served this paper on Friday afternoon after the business close of business day. They didn't even bother to sign it. They're just cowards. Unreal. This is what it's come to, where banks cancel because and here's their reason. Based on a compliance review. Remember, 2 weeks ago, they said it was because they didn't want to be in the public eye. Yeah, it really is disgusting because it all goes back to them trying to cancel our voice, everybody. You know, we're Republicans.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're
Okay.
you're worse than.
Okay.
Then you're worse than anybody out there. Then you're a Brad Rassenberger. Then you're a coward and
Okay.
a criminal.
You're a coward and a criminal. Unhinged. Unhinged. Oh, Mikey. Hey, look, Mike, you seem to understand that a company refusing to do business with you because you're a moron is not illegal. If it were illegal to do business with morons, well, then you would never have had any business except for Fox News. I mean, seriously. And look, by the way, there are rules in place that do protect certain people from, having businesses discriminate against them, because this is what he's apparently alluding to, right? Now, look, a business can't discriminate against you based on race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, disability, etc. But Mike Lindell is not a member of a protected class, so banks can refuse to do business with people like him anytime they want. Again, this is a free market, literally. Banks are corporations; they can do what they want. Okay, so now is Mike Pillow trying to argue that he should be a protected class, making it a criminal offense to not do business with him? I'm kind of curious now if Mike Lindell thinks that he should be a protected class. I mean, it's insane to think about it, but once again, when you go to the victimhood complex of a lot of these Republicans, a lot of these conservatives, that might not actually be far from the truth of what they actually want. Oh, no, please, protect me. I'm so discriminated against. Oh, they're coming after me. I need to be a protected class because I'm white and right wing. No, fuck off. Now, the other thing that's hilarious is that he points out, it's like, I can't believe these Republican owners of these banks would actually do this to me. Well, what does them being Republican have to do with anything? Believe it or not, there are Republicans out there that do not buy into the insanity, that don't buy into Mike Pillow's allegations that it's the Chinese, the Iranians, the Pomeranians, the Italians, the Hillary Clintons, the Beelzebubs getting together and conspiring to steal the election from Donald Trump. They don't believe in your nonsense. And I know, unfortunately, that's a minority of the party. I mean, it turns out, according to polling, only about a third of Republicans are not buying into the Joe Biden has stolen the election narrative. So you only have about a third of Republicans, about 30 to 33%, that actually have any sort of grasp on factual reality. And let me guess, that's the business class of Republicans. The big business class, the rich. Now, those businesses know that peddling lies about the election, about 2020, has a destabilizing effect on government. It really does when it comes down to it, because it tells you that you can't trust the elections anymore. You can't trust elections, you can't trust government, and it believe it or not, it might actually discourage Republican voters from coming out and voting. If they think all their elections are corrupted and that, that Democrats can come in and steal it at any time, which again is farcical and not true at all, well, then they're not going to be involved in the political process. And then the people who rely on duping Republican voters into voting for them so they can get tax cuts and deregulation, well, they lose. They hate it. And so they're like, no. Hey, stop spreading those election conspiracies or else we're not going to do business with you anymore. And that's what it is. Again, insurrection, also bad to business, bad for business. And so in that way, interestingly enough, the establishment, the Republican establishment, is defending itself and its own interests, finally, against the Donald Trump cultists. Now, it just so happens that the Republican establishment, in this case of the election, they're on the side of objective reality. And I believe that anybody who's not just an insane reactionary can see that. That's why the business class conservatives, they're not with the Lindells of the world, but they're with the establishment Democrats. There's nothing to gain here from business standpoint. And there's nothing to gain, especially from losing our republic to proto-fascists like Trump, who at the end of the day only have one thing. They only want one thing. They only want to gain power. And of course, lunatics like Lindell, well, they just believe that they're anointed and that, oh, God gave me a special task, and that's to go and suck up to Donald Trump and then to sell pillows while I'm at it. Just complete and total insanity. We're not done. We're not done with Mike Pillow, though. We have more. There's a lot of crack going on. Much crack. The best crack. The greatest crack. Okay, anyway. Why don't I give you another shot of pillow talk?
God gave me this platform. I already know I'm going to win.
China did our vote. Biden and Harris would say, hey, we're here to protect the country, and resign.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy. But you haven't. Just forget about the evidence. This was attacked.
It appears that MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell is a little angry at Geraldo Rivera, of all people, and it's over crack pipes. Take a look.
And then Geraldo, he's got to have his head examined. That guy, there's something wrong with him. He went on Fox. No, I never watched Fox, everybody. They put it, it was such the most stupid thing ever to come out of Geraldo's mouth in history. Oh, he's probably had more. I would vote there's been others. But when Sean Hannity and Dan were on there, and they're questioning him, they go, can you believe these crack pipes are going to give out to the addicts? And Geraldo goes, well, they're people too. Their lives matter too. Really, Geraldo? You got to be kidding me. Of course their lives matter, you idiot. I mean, this guy where's his brain? It's like he's on there. This is our journalist nowadays. He's on there to talk about something. They should ban him from even being in this country for talking that stupid, for addicts getting their paraphernalia, and Geraldo thinks it's okay. I mean, it's unbelievable. I still, that bugged me. I had to get that out, Liz.
No, I mean, you're on a roll today.
Oh yeah, you're on some kind of roll, anyway. No, okay. So first point, I don't know what's going on with Geraldo, but he's actually made some good points recently. It's super weird. It's super strange. In fact, look, maybe it's the fact that because the right wing has gone so insane, you now have regular conservatives like Geraldo that don't seem as terrible anymore. Goddamn Overton window. Stop moving to the right. Stop moving. But okay, let's get to the substance here, okay? Because for one, nobody knows crack quite like Mike Lindell. And I'm not even saying that as a as a pejorative, as a way to, kind of stick it in his eye. No, he was a former crack addict, and now, I stress, alleged former crack addict. So I think that the drugs scrambled his brain. And so actually, I kind of understand why Mike Lindell would be so angry. And he seemed very legitimately angry there. And so, okay. Now, the problem, of course, is that the entire thing that he's ranting about is fake news. Literal fake news. Look, here's the thing. He's claiming, and this is the narrative that's come from the right wing, they're saying that the Biden administration is giving away crack pipes. No, they're not. By the way, this is an administration who will not remove marijuana, cannabis, from the Schedule I drug list. Do you think that this administration, who won't remove a drug that is legal for recreational use in 19 different states and the territory of Guam, okay, you think that the administration that won't even get that off the Schedule I drug, which is the most dangerous, by the way. Schedule I says this is absolutely no medicinal or any sort of value, and it's incredibly dangerous. You think they'd be handing out crack pipes? What? That doesn't make any sense. And by the way, for legalizing cannabis, that would be a layup for the Biden administration. God knows their polls need it badly. He is not doing well, especially among younger Americans. And look, by the way, cannabis is so, the use is so now, I should say, normalized and popular within the American people, that it would be a massive benefit to his polls if he were to, deschedule or take it off the schedule list, or legalize it recreationally or even medicinally on a national level, on a federal level. But he didn't. You think that guy would give away free crack pipes? No, if you believe that, you're probably on drugs. Or, of course, you've been consuming too much Fox News. It has the same effect on your brain, I'm assuming. But in reality, of course, here's what the administration is doing. Here's what Biden is doing. They want to distribute about $30 million in funds to community-based harm reduction programs. Now, according to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, providing health and social services for active drug users, harm reduction programs can actually reduce overdoses, HIV transmission, and other negative health outcomes, as well as death. Now, in the long term, that, of course, reduces costs from incarceration. Less drug users, gets people off the streets, gets people, away from crime. And, of course, if you help them get off the drugs, it reduces addiction, obviously. And so, okay. Now, I think a lot of people fall into drugs because of bad socioeconomic conditions, those diseases of despair. And, of course, you have self-medication from lack of mental health care and being able to afford prescription drugs. For example, and I mean prescription drugs like things like, I don't know, antidepressants, things like, depression. Well, I just said depression, anxiety, things like that. Some people will choose to self-medicate or not even be able to get in to be diagnosed with things like bipolar, for example. And so some might choose instead to self-medicate, or they get into a situation where they end up self-medicating, or again, just from the terrible socioeconomic conditions. And so that stuff happens, right? Now, if you address those things, those issues, there's a good chance that you're going to get some of the people off the streets, and you're going to get some of those people off the drugs. But until that happens, you can at least do what you can to save their lives. And that's what this kit's for. Okay? So now, of course, the right wing is keyed in on this, and they're saying that the fact that some of the money from the grant program is going to supplies. And so what do they think of? Crack pipes. Now, in reality, yes, there are some supplies like sterile syringes and what are called safe smoking kits. Now, I don't think there's any way to smoke safely, but I guess there's a way to, if you're going to smoke, do it a little safer. And that's what this is about. So now these safe smoking kits, also called safer smoking kits, are designed to reduce health risks associated with drug use. Because of open wounds and sores, they increase the risk of disease transmission. And so the kits actually contain first aid materials. And so that's according to the North Carolina Harm Reduction Coalition, a grassroots advocacy organization. Now they also sometimes, and I'm not saying this is from the Biden administration, however, there is some of these kits include glass pipe stems and mouthpieces to prevent health issues associated with with makeshift smoking devices. This is according to Harm Reduction International, a NGO in the UK. Now, the Biden administration's kits don't have any of that stuff in them at all. But again, this is a way to try to reduce the risk of death by addicts. And again, if you quit these drugs cold turkey, I wouldn't exactly recommend that because of how bad the withdrawals can actually be and how dangerous that is. And so I think there needs to be like a weaning off period for some of the harder drugs. But furthermore, back to the program here. So now the program, the grant proposal actually also, along with the kits, lists 8 different things that the grantees must complete, the organizations that get the grants. Among them, they have to refer drug users to treatment programs. They have to distribute overdose reversal medication to keep them alive, and to educate users on the ways to reduce negative health outcomes of drug use. Grant recipients must provide information about their activities so the government can determine whether or not the program is actually effective at getting people off drugs and reducing overdose deaths. So that includes data on every supply purchased and the number of individuals, very important, referred to treatment centers. All right, so now officials again stress that distributing or funding crack pipes is not part of the program and was never part of the plan at all. So now look, the reason I'm going through the details here is because you have to go and understand that there are a lot of people that are that could be justly outraged at this. Oh, I can't believe my tax money is going to giving people drugs or crack pipes. Well, again, that's not entirely true. But again, I can understand the anger, the outrage for it, especially for somebody who, in the case of Lindell, and I'm being incredibly charitable here, had been through that. And so obviously that's going to be a bit of a sore spot for him. So I get the rage. Now, that said, this is made up. This is weaponized outrage created by the right wing, spread by right-wing outlets. If you actually want to solve the drug problem, then guess what? There are things that conservatives could actually advocate for. Number one, you end the drug war. You disempower the drug cartels immediately. The Portugal model comes to mind. Secondly, and this is important too, and you don't see a lot of this, you'll never see this from Republicans, go after Big Pharma. And by the way, I mean Republican politicians. They're actually Republicans, normal voters, that are like, yeah, stick it to pharma. Big Pharma, yes, they're ripping us off. Totally agree. But again, remember the opioid epidemic, right? Now, that wasn't caused by the Mexican cartels. That wasn't the drugs flowing over the border. Those are drugs that were made here, okay? This was caused by big corporations like Purdue Pharma that lied to people in order to make a buck. That's actual criticism of Big Pharma. But no, what you see conservative politicians and media figures focus on is, oh, vaccine bad. Instead of course, rightly looking at the profit motives for other drugs. How they jack up prices on prescription drugs. How they've been doing it a lot. And even lied to people about how certain pain medications are less addictive than that they actually are. Okay? This is all manufactured bullshit, outrage that's spurred by fake news from bad faith actors. That's all it is. You know who spread this claim about the crack pipes? This is a Washington Free Beacon article. that cited, get this, they cited an anonymous spokesperson, allegedly from HHS. So it's an anonymous spokesperson. Well then, so basically, what are you writing this about? If it's some anonymous rando, well then you can't take their word for it. Now, of course, what happened when this article got out? No, you had Marco Rubio that picked it up, Senator Ted Cruz that picked it up, you had other Republican congressmen, and then of course you had influencers like Dinesh D'Souza. And now it is filtered down to Mike Pillow. And so understand where this comes from and what it's really about. They're not giving out crack pipes. They're actually trying to address a real issue here, which is addiction. And apparently you can't do that. You can't do anything about addiction. You just have to let them die in the streets. Okay. Moving on here.
Where are the prosecutors right now? You know, the same prosecutors that'll go after my father every single day for nothing, right? Just because they want to disqualify him because he's clearly the front runner for 2024, right? Where are those prosecutors? Hillary Rodham Clinton is a New York resident. Let me just kind of, break that down for you. She lives in Chappaqua, New York. And guess where Trump Tower is located? It's located on 5th Avenue in New York. Where are these prosecutors? Where is the DA? Isn't that a federal, isn't that a... isn't that fraud? Isn't that all sorts of offenses?
I'll predict
where's
this.
Letitia James in this whole thing? Is she just going to ignore this because Hillary happens to be in her political party?
We don't
Where
get
is
this
that
fixed.
equal justice? And you know what?
We'll lose the country, Eric. It's over. But I got to roll. But this is the biggest scandal.
Is it just me, or did Eric Trump look like he was about to break out in tears? Sad. Baby. Getting very emotional over here and bringing up Hillary Clinton. So now look, again, you can see Eric Trump deflecting from the many legal issues that the Trump organization is facing, including potential tax fraud. Now, I don't know. I don't know about Hillary Clinton doing tax fraud. But certainly there's a good case that the Trump organization, which Eric Trump helps run, engaged in some shady dealing. So now we know about those charges, but again, they're going back to their favorite hits. Now we're talking about Hillary Clinton again. Now, look, nobody wants Hillary Clinton back in the news. Nobody. Actually, you know what? No, let's go back. I amend that. Nobody wants Hillary Clinton back in the news more than Trump and Republicans. Nobody. And look, from the left, I can't stand her. I can't stand talking about Hillary Clinton. I want Hillary Clinton to go back to the woods, and I want her to stop influencing the Democratic Party, to be more corporate, to be more right-wing. Why didn't she go back and just be a grandma? Just end the politics. Get out of politics. But here's the thing. While we want her to go away, the right wants her to stay right there because they have an unhealthy weirdo fixation with Hillary Clinton. And they're using her, I believe, as a distraction. Now, what Eric Trump was talking about was the John Durham court filing. Now, they're already doing Obamagate 2.0. Right? Or Spygate 2.0, whatever you want to call it, right? So basically they take the Obama administration, they spied on the Trump campaign during 2015, 2016, they spied on the Trump administration, and now they just take Obama's name and replace it with Hillary Clinton. And it's essentially the same charge. They accused her team of hacking into Trump's computers and spying on Trump. Now, Fox News is reporting that Durham, John Durham, had alleged that Clinton's presidential campaign in 2016 had paid to infiltrate servers belonging to Trump Tower and later on in the White House. Now, of course, this is a little bit more complicated, and a lot of it is just allegations with no charges. And so what does this bring to mind? A witch hunt. Of course. So now, if again, this would be a very serious charge, hacking into and trying to steal the data of a political opponent. But we've already seen Durham hasn't charged anyone. Durham also is an appointee of William Barr. So it seems like kind of, you know, partisan. Now, by the way, this right-wing media, I keep bringing up how this is a problem. Right-wing media will take something and then they'll basically change the meaning. They'll interpret it. For example, the infiltration charge of Trump's servers, no, that's actually a talking point from Kash Patel, a former Trump administration official. This court filing says nothing about infiltration. Nothing. And so, no, you have, unfortunately, that same narrative coming from Trump supporters in media. Let me give you a little bit of context into what's actually going on. And again, there's a lot more to this, but let me just lay out the basics. So Durham is charging Michael Sussman with lying to the FBI. There's an indictment, okay? This is all in relation to Russiagate, by the way, which they are very, very angry about. They're still angry about the Russiagate thing, right? Now, the indictment alleged that he told the FBI, Sussman, that he was not acting on behalf of clients. Well, in fact, he was secretly acting on behalf of Clinton's political team for her campaign. Now, that's the allegations. Sussman says, no, I didn't do that. I never said that I didn't have any clients. Now, Sussman worked for Perkins Coie, which was employed by the Clinton presidential campaign back in 2015. Now, the indictment claims that Perkins Coie's internal paperwork, Sussman had billed some time with the FBI, General Counsel James Baker, had billed that to the Clinton campaign. We don't know what they talked about. Durham says, oh, what they did is they talked about Alpha Bank. You know, the mysterious connection between Alpha Bank, talking to one of the Trump computers in Trump Tower, and that was like somehow like a secret Russian connection. Now, of course, Alpha Bank, they didn't find anything about Alpha Bank. They looked into it. The FBI took the tip that they had found and found no evidence of anything shady. The computer in question was not owned by the Trump organization, but it was running ads for Trump hotels. That story fell through. People forgot about it. Another story people forgot about is the Steele dossier. Clinton tried to use some of the information from the Steele dossier to attack Donald Trump. Now, a lot of the stuff in the Steele dossier was unsubstantiated, poorly sourced. There were some things that did turn out to be true, but at the end of the day, the most salacious stuff was not true. Or again, not backed up by any sort of factual evidence. And so not only that, but you had the Mueller investigation that found no conspiracy between Donald Trump and Putin. They just found out that Trump was more than happy to accept assistance from the Russians, but didn't facilitate said assistance. There's a big difference on that. And so the Russians, of course, did do, you know, troll farms and bots to try to stir up negative headlines against Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump himself, and I've said this before over and over again, I don't think he was smart enough to collude with Russia. Just saying. But that's what the whole thing is about. We're back to Russiagate. So all of this is a way, I think, to have Donald Trump, if he gets back into office, and that's possible. Anything is possible here, to punish his political opponents, specifically Hillary Clinton, over Russiagate. Because of course, right? Now, the point is, I mean, political campaigns from either side use opposition research. They use media headlines. And Trump, for example, used to Comey emails to help tank Hillary Clinton's campaign. Democrats, they went after him with the Russia investigation. And now Donald Trump is just coming back again with, obviously it's Hillary Clinton. Why isn't Hillary Clinton being investigated? For what? What did she do? She didn't do... Okay. Now, here's the thing. Yes, she has done things that are quite improper. I mean, if you want to criticize the fact that she had an email server, perfectly fine. You know what? Because I've criticized her for that. Yes, her private server was absolutely improper. Yet, on the other hand, you also have to look at the fact that Donald Trump's handling of important documentation, well, less than stellar. Literally shredding and eating documents and flushing them down the toilet. Apples and oranges, really. I mean, definitely when it comes to records management, Donald Trump, worse. But see, understand what Eric Trump is crying about here, almost literally crying. It's the fact that there are, yes, serious investigations into Donald Trump's business practices. And I think that's important. That's really important because business is where they're going to get him. You've got to follow the money. You've got to follow the money when it comes to the actual corruption of the Trump campaign. The Republican Party, when it comes to Trump's own business organization, they can't do anything to help him. Other than, of course, pay his legal bills, which you're already doing. But Republicans, look, and Republicans, they shielded him from impeachment, not once, but twice. And it's because that was a political trial. But when it comes to the investigations in the Southern District of New York, Letitia James, Cyrus Vance Jr., well, the Republican Party can't step in and do anything against that. They've got no one to shield them from those issues. And there's some pretty big organization that, or big evidence that the organization was doing some very illegal business practices that could get them into a lot of trouble. So they brought back, what about Hillary? Because it always comes back to that. But nobody cares. Nobody cares except for the right-wing outrage machine. Okay. Insanity. Let's see. Why is Biden snatching $10 billion from millions of starving Afghans? Because Biden's a dick. Duh. This isn't a pro-Biden show. Yes, he is a dick. Moving on. Hopefully that answered your question. Let's go to Beelzebub. Oh yeah, definitely more nonsense Benghazi investigations. Of course. You're absolutely right about that one. All right. What about Trump's emails? He ate them. What are you doing? he ate them, and he's probably, I mean, look, that's got to be bad for the colon. Real bad for the colon. Yikes. All right. Go to demons. Trump supporters in Michigan are using some very curious arguments against a plan to count ballots. Well, now, wait a minute. I thought Trump supporters were in favor of counting the ballots. They're in favor of counting and recounting and then recounting the recount and then recounting the recount of the recount of the recount. You know how it goes, right? Well, let me give you the context here. So now, the curious thing about this entire thing is that you have Republicans that are planning to do a count of 3,000 to 4,000 ballots from delegates at its upcoming Republican convention. Now, let me get to the details here from the Detroit Free Press. Quote, conspiracy theories peddled by some Michigan Republicans and allies of former President Donald Trump about voting machines in 2020 have come home to roost. For years, the party has used voting tabulators to count the ballots at its own conventions. GOP leaders advocated for the continued use of tabulating machines. However, Republicans who champion debunk theories about voting machines, they want the votes counted by hand. So now, honestly, I actually support hand-counted paper ballots. Let's be honest about that. I support that. I don't find anything wrong with hand-counted paper ballots. That said, the reasoning here, well, we're going to get into that. So now the party has decided to take that into consideration, and they've said, we'll use tabulators, but we'll also have a 27-person audit committee that will review the results by hand after the machine count. So now they're wasting their time. Let me just say that. Why use the machines if you're going to have paper ballots? Why use paper ballots if you're going to use the machines? That doesn't make any sense. Again, I just told you my position. Paper ballots. Just go with the paper ballots. Hand count them. But apparently, Republicans in the party say no, and they're actually giving credence, or I should say not credence, but more ammunition towards the insane Republicans. So, in fact, one of their arguments, one of the groups opposed to the plan, basically cited the devil. This is Pure Integrity for Michigan Elections, one of the groups that pushed for a so-called forensic audit of the 2020 election, said this. This is from an email. Grassroots groups would sooner stare into the glowering red eyes of Beelzebub than to allow a Dominion ESS or Hart tabulator to run its lecherous paws over their sacred ballots. Shouldn't it be hooves? I mean, if we're going with demons, if we're going with Beelzebub, then we might as well just like say, keep your hooves off our ballots. It would behoove you not to. Okay, anyway, I'm done with that. Now, again, these companies, you might be familiar, Dominion voting system. And so, of course, Dominion, there's all these conspiracy theories against that company, even though they've done nothing wrong. No evidence of changes to any ballots, no vote switching, no external, results that have been switched, no Chinese hackers coming in, no Italians, no lizard people, no mass conspiracy. The Iranians and the Pomeranians didn't come in and change the election. It's all complete and utter nonsense. Nonetheless, the lies continue to persist. In fact, one of the GOP candidates seeking the party's backing for Attorney General, and there's a reason, by the way, that I'm getting to this, Matt DePerno, he has alleged vote manipulation by Dominion tabulators used in a specific county, Antrim. Now, that's the site of a brief tallying error on election night, which again does happen. He filed a lawsuit seeking a so-called forensic audit in Antrim County that served as a vehicle to advance his tales of conspiracy theories involving Dominion voting systems. Trump heard about this and has referenced those conspiracies. And guess what? He got rewarded. Not Trump, but DePerno. In fact, DePerno, looking for that clout, he got it. Trump praised DePerno, writing that he has energized the Republican base against the rhinos and crooked Democrats, especially as it pertains to the election integrity. I have fully endorsed Matt because of his past accomplishments as a warrior lawyer. Warrior lawyer. Yeah. Sorry, I think the only person that moniker belongs to is Matt Murdock. Or Daredevil, warrior lawyer. But anyway, warrior lawyer, and said that he's exactly what Michigan needs. No, okay, so look, this is not complicated. If you're Matt DePerno, if you're some no-name Michigan legislator, and you want to get instant recognition and clout inside of the Republican Party, you put out insane conspiracy theories. Even if you don't believe them, you don't have to. If you just come out and say that, well, then Donald Trump is going to reward you with a shout out. And that's what's happened here. That's exactly what's going on here. Not complicated whatsoever. And by the way, if he does believe, then he's insane. And there are a lot of insane people. But for some reason, he just strikes me, this person just strikes me as somebody who's clout chasing for Donald Trump. But anyway, let's go to former GOP Executive Director Jeff Timmer, who pushed back on this and is actually concerned about this tactic because he thinks it's going to hurt them down the line, the Republican Party. Quote, I think it's a guarantee if they use the machines to count, someone will demand hand recounts. And they'll be sitting there all day and into the next day going through these ballots over and over and over again. That's true. Very, very true. Republicans, he says, have been conditioned to claim that an election was rigged when their preferred candidate loses. It's not just going to be when they lose to a Democrat. And I think there's actually a lot of truth to that. I mean, that's what we see. Every election that Republicans lose, must be rigged. We need a recount. Every time that they win, the election was totally fair. 100%. Even though, of course, we have voter suppression, we have gerrymandering, we have laws, or I should say proposals or that are going on the books in Republican states to, reduce the number of polling places, make it difficult for people to vote by mail, getting rid of drop boxes, and actually just making it much more difficult if you're a minority to cast your ballot. But here's the thing. He's worried about, of course, the future of his own party. And that's the situation that Republicans themselves have created. They have sown so much doubt into their own elections that they don't believe the results unless it's the one that they wanted themselves. They created a monster, and it's not going to get better. It's just going to get worse. As for invoking demons, I just got to say, there's as much truth to the demons as there is for mass voter fraud. It's made up and only there to scare gullible people. All right, one last real quick story. Let's go to Lindsey Graham. Following what was some very light criticism of Donald Trump's words about the Capitol rioters, wanting to, of course, pardon them, Lindsey Graham is back to kissing Donald Trump's ass. Take a look.
He wants to be the Republican nominee for the Republican Party. It's his for the taking. My floor comments were about the 2020 election. I am not contesting the 2020 election. I'd like to reform the system. The problems we found in 2020 need to be addressed, but the 2020 election is over for me. Donald Trump is the most consequential Republican in the Republican Party today. He has a great chance of being president again in 2024 if he'll start comparing what he did as president versus what's going on now and how to fix the mess we're in.
You said that to Bob Woodward as well. You said the president was going to have to change if he wanted to be competitive in 2024. He doesn't really show any signs of changing. He continues to lie about the 2020 election. A couple weeks ago, he talked about pardoning the January 6 rioters. He called you a rhino, Republican in name only, because you disagreed with that. There's no evidence that the president is going to change.
He's the most dominant figure in the Republican Party.
Beta bear. Beta.
That's all I can say about that. Absolute beta energy. So sad. He is the most dominant figure. Well, of course. He's got that right. Donald Trump is dominant, and basically, look, he's Lindsey Graham's daddy. That's what that is.
Beta.
Total beta. Totally. No, again, Donald Trump, yes, he's not going to change. Of course he's not going to change. Anybody who criticizes him, even, on the right, even lightly, They end up bending over for him. He has most of the Republican Party essentially cucked. Understand that this is what the Republican Party loves authoritarians. They want to be dominated. No one wants to be dominated more than Lindsey Graham. And that's fine. Hey, if you're into that, that's totally fine for me. But look, if you're a Republican, you're not really helping your case when you let Donald Trump run all over you. Because he's dragging your party down the fascism hole. Now, normally, in normal circumstances, I wouldn't give a damn. I don't like the Republican Party. I don't want them to win another election. I don't want them to win ever. I want the Republican Party to be absolutely destroyed and for there to be an actual left-wing party and have the Democrats move over and take the conservative party's place. I think Republicans are terrible for this country. They're a cancer. Absolute cancer. But understand that the Democrats are so incredibly frustratingly weak and corporate owned that right now they're in the path of losing to these monsters led by Trump. So yeah, it'd be nice to have Republicans say no to fascism by, at the very least, saying no to Trump. But it's never going to happen. None of them want to do that because the majority of their base is all in on the idea of fascism or jailing their political opponents. They want to do that. They threaten investigations. They threaten prison time. Hey, if we get into power, we are just going to absolutely we're going to steamroll all over you. And by the way, it's going to be criminal. Now, what's going to happen if that comes true? If Donald Trump gets back into power and assumes power and actually is successful at dismantling our democratic processes, actually starts jailing Democrats for nonsense reasons, you think he's going to stop there? No, he's not going to stop there. No, he's going to go after the rhinos next. That's what's going to happen. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican. If you don't follow Trump 100% and agree with everything and give him all the power that he desires, then, well, he's going to come for you. It doesn't matter how much you kiss his ass, Lindsey Graham. And all I know, look, I know that Lindsey Graham, all he wants is a strong daddy figure. We know that, but this ain't it. This is super sad and pathetic and dangerous, even for Lindsey Graham. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to absolutely one thing. Are you going to defend democracy or a republic, or are you going to bend over for Trump? Well, I already know the answer to that question when it comes to Lindsey Graham. We all know what that answer is going to be.
Beta bear.
Exactly. All right. I have to get going. I got a meeting here very, very quickly, or in a very short amount of time, actually. But I do want to give one shout out on Twitch here. Thank you, Tiffany Star Power, for cheering 100 bits. So thank you, Tiffany Star. Everybody check her out. She does gaming videos and, of course, gaming streams and all that wonderful stuff. And, of course, check out her YouTube channel where she does criticism of Republicans. Dunks on them. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. All right. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Love you all. Have an excellent, excellent day. And we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully on time. All right, everybody. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. See you later.
BEYDAH. Amazing.
Please clap.
Obama.
Sexual anarchy.
Disappointed!
I have not loved this conversation.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.